Colombian history has been marked by violence. Historical moments like the Bogotazo in 1948, the establishment of National Front in 1958, liberal versus conservatives, the founding of guerrilla groups such as FARC, ELN, M19 and EPL, military and paramilitary groups, years of fighting against drug cartels, peace talks, and launches of Plan Colombia in 2000 and Plan Patriota 2004 have created a conflict that seems to have no end. This video shows facts about that history and gives a neutral look to inform about the Colombian conflict and the current events.
Well, now let's talk about the armed groups, guerrillas and paramilitarism. There are three outstanding guerrillas groups in Colombia. The first one is the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. They were founded in 1964 in the south of Tolima by Manuel Rolando Vélez. They proclaimed themselves as a Marxist-Leninist guerrilla group. This guerrilla is the oldest in Colombia. Another important fact is that in 2012 they started a peace process with the government of Colombia. The second one is the M19. They were a guerrilla movement involved because of electoral fraud during the presidential election in 1970. They are also known by the take of the Court House in 1985. Finally, in 1990, they demobilized because of a peace process with the government. And the third one is the National Liberation Army, or also known as ELN. They appeared in 1964, and among its founders stand out two princes, who are Camilo Torres and Manuel Perez. They were based on the liberation theology. Its current commander is Nicolas Rodriguez Bautista, alias Gabino. Now let's talk about the right-wing armed groups, paramilitaries, who were created around the 70s and financed by lone owners, politicians, ranchers and multinationals in order to fight and counteract left-wing armed groups. There were three kinds of paramilitary groups. The first one, Convivir, also known as a cooperative surveillance. They operated between the years 1984 to 1997, and it was an official response to provide a new legal framework for the defense of landowners who were threatened by guerrilla groups. They were regulated by the president Ernesto Samper. The second one is United Self-Defense of Colombia. They operated between the years 1996 to 2006, and its main objective was fight the FARC, who were controlling a lot of Colombian regions. They are known for the slaughter of Mapiripan and El Salado, among others. They demobilized in 2006 during the Álvaro Uribe Gómez government. And the third one are BACRIMs. They are criminal organizations formed by some members of the last group. Even when they are known as the third generation of AUC, its main job is narco-traffic and extortions. Guerrillas and paramilitary groups are related with narco-traffic, slaughters, forced displacement, kidnap, extortion, and forced recruitment, etc.
This is the human cost of the Colombian conflict. A huge number of victims comparable with other major conflicts. Over 218,000 people killed, more than 80% were civilians. Over 5.7 million people internally displaced. More than 25,000 people disappeared. At least 25,000 people were forcibly disappeared in Colombia. The total may be far more. Also, attacks on victims come from all quarters: guerrillas, paramilitaries, and government armed forces. More than 27,000 people had been kidnapped, mainly by guerrillas. More than 11,700 people killed in 1,982 massacres, largely perpetrated by paramilitary groups. And 10,610 people killed or wounded by landmines.
Social consequences. In this part, we can see that our society is the most affected by the armed conflict in Colombia because many people, 5 million people more or less, have been displaced from their hometown, from their house, and they have to move to another city and start a new life. It's difficult for many people because they don't have family or a house there. Then they have to work in the streets, watching cars, selling candies, and their children also have to work because the money is insufficient for the necessities and they can't go to the school. And 59% of the people work in an informal job, and the majority are the women.
To conclude, we have to talk about the situation in terms of peace in Colombia. Those are peace dialogues between the government of President Juan Manuel Santos and the FARC. Also known as the peace process in Colombia are the conversations that are taking place between the government of Colombia, representing a state, and the guerrilla revolutionary armed forces of Colombia. Those discussions took place in Oslo and currently take place in Havana, Cuba. The government says that the objective is the termination of conflict and by the FARC to seek peace with social justice through the dialogue. The negotiations are based on a general agreement ending in conflict and building a stable and lasting peace. It formally began on October 18, 2012.